So that weekend, I spiked a fever of 103, and I was taking ibuprofen and Tylenol, the antibiotic at the same time, and my head was just screaming. My ears were screaming. My head was screaming, and I'm like, this can't be right. There has to be more. So called the doctor's office, let them know what my symptoms were, and the nurse, checked my test, and they said that it was a false negative. So I had COVID. From there, they're like, look, drop what you're doing. We're going to call the hospital. You need to go to the hospital now. So I went into the ER. The nurse greeted me, put me in a wheelchair, took me back into the ER. They took my information, and that's the last thing I remember.
That's the last thing you remember?
Mm-hmm. And then a month later, I woke up.
Hey, welcome back to the Better Fitness Proof Podcast. It's your host, Matt April, and I'm here at BentOnBetter with one of our amazing new, but returning new members, Anne Maroney. So hi, Anne. Can you say hello to everybody and then tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody. I think I'm close enough that everybody can hear me.
Perfect.
How's everybody? I'm Anne Maroney, and I'm the newbie. So I just rejoined the BentOnBetter family about 2 weeks ago. So I'm the newest card in Matt's stack.
Yes, and the stack keeps going, and it's great. I love it. I love stacking the cards. So our connection is pretty cool and unique, but your story is very special, and we touched on it briefly before we hit the record button. And so to grab everyone's attention, let's just give the 30-second summary of what you went through, and then we're going to go into the deep story of what it is. So what was it that really made you decide to get in here again with me? Can you tell us, everybody?
Sure. So, yes, this is my second time around with Matt. And the reason why I'm back is because I am a COVID survivor. And I am on a new chapter in my COVID journey. So I made the phone call to Matt to see if he can kind of help me out with the start of the next piece of the puzzle, so to speak.
That's beautiful. And you are a COVID survivor.
I am.
And the story, I know it because we just recapped it all a few weeks ago. I know it, and it is, whoever's watching and listening right now, make sure you grab the tissue box and have it readily available, because this is a tearjerker and really pulls at those heartstrings. But nonetheless, Anne, you're back. And so we're going to take it back, before we get into that story, we're going to take it back to, let's talk about the time when we first met. So bring it all the way back to 2018. What made you decide to come in here? If you can bring it all the way back to that time when you were thinking about things, and
Sure.
Take me through that journey, and then we'll come to more current times.
So 2018, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I see Matt April's lively face on Facebook, that he's recruiting new clients for his new facility in Westchester. And he was looking for that fresh new 10 people to kind of come in and join his gym. So at the time, it was just in the right place and space that I thought it would be really good to give it a whirl. So I came in, I gave it a whirl, but unfortunately, nothing against Mr. April, but I ended up having some family issues. So there were some challenges in my life that I just could not put forth the time and the effort that I needed to make the whole thing work. So I just had to press pause.
And I think it's important, we kind of skipped over it, but tell everybody a little bit more about you. So what do you do for a living? What does your home life look like? What does your actual adult life look like? Because I know the story, but everyone who's watching and listening, they don't know.
Okay, well, you guys really don't have enough time for all of this. I'm just letting you know that. Yes, I work full time. I am a realtor. I work for Next Home Brandywine, little plug, in Westchester. I've been a realtor for 13 or so years. Before that, I was a social worker, and I worked with older adults. Loved it. I am married. My wonderful husband Tony. My fantastic daughter Sarah. She's 22. Hi, Bubba. And then also, I have my extended family with me. My aunt also is with us, so we kind of have a blended family. She's 82, and she keeps me on my toes. So I have a busy life. I have a very full life. As it was when I first joined the first time around with Matt, I was juggling a lot of hats. I was very, very active with my daughter. She was in school at the time. So that took up a lot of my energy, plus being a caregiver. Any of you out there who are caregivers kind of understand what it takes, the time and the space and the energy and the stress that, you go through when you are a family caretaker. So anywho, all of that being said, there just wasn't enough of me to go around at the time when I was with Matt the first time, so something had to give, and unfortunately, I had to give up my time in order for me to be able to take care of others.
And that's a real story, and that's why I was so glad that you said you wanted to come in and be on the podcast, because your story is unique in that you haven't been here for a long time. As of right now, currently when we're recording this, I don't like to put a date on these things, but you've been here for about 2 weeks now. Like getting started again. So we'll make the timeline of you were here January 2018 when we were still a brand new facility. We had only been, I had been in business for just a little over 2 years at that time, but here only for about a year. And there was no Alicia, there was no Nick, there was no Molly, there was no Lynn in the facility.
It was very, very different than this time around. The whole process was very different that time. I believe you've now honed in your skills. I really do. I'm enjoying this second time around a lot better.
Yay! Well, I'm glad that you're here for the second time around, and this hopefully will be the one that just is the journey for the foreseeable, however long future it might be. And selfishly, I want it to be for the next 10 years, but we'll let that time go by. But for now, I think it's back to the story. It's important for people to realize that. And the reason for why I wanted you on here is because you're a real person. You're a real person with a story that is just now beginning that next chapter, right? And that chapter is including us in it, which I'm so grateful for to be a part of that chapter. But now take me to that time where now you had left BOB and back in 2018, you're juggling work life, family life, managing the family and the extended family. You're dealing with so much as an adult, as we all do. We have so many different things happening. Then the pandemic hits, and that's where your story comes in. So fill me in there. So
just indulge me, Potters, for a hot second. I have something for Matt here real quick. I told him about this, but I didn't tell you today, but hang on 1 second. So I told him in the beginning, sorry about that, Potters. I told him in the beginning about this, that I had this up on my vision wall. So I wanted to make sure that he got it. All of this just to say that he sent me this lovely card in the mail after, things, I was kind of fizzling out with BentOnBetter, again, because life happened. So he sent this lovely card in the mail, and I kept it all this time for a reason, just to put it on my vision board, knowing that I was going to be coming back to this at some point, and I just wanted to keep it top of mind, so that's where I get it. So I gave I kept my original, of course, but I gave you a copy of it, so that obviously he keeps things, so he could go in a scrapbook, something like that.
So this is for me?
File it in the drawer.
Oh, thank you. That's so great. Oh my gosh. And that means so much that you've kept that. And I mean, and I'm actually at a loss of words right now. This is really special that you kept this.
It's very cool.
For all these years.
He's making me like I'm ancient. It's not all these years. It's only 2018.
That's a long time. You consider in business to be in business from 2018, 19, 20, and surviving a pandemic. That's a long time.
Right. But think of it this way too, is that, you had the opportunity in 2018 to touch a member that obviously it resonated with me, so that I was able to keep it and then eventually come back to you. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, yes. And on the back of it, it says, Matt, are you ready for a challenge? Thanks for bringing me back. Oh, I'm ready.
Yeah,
We are
ready.
we are ready.
We're ready.
We are ready. So tell me the story now. So I'm going to keep this over here for me. So I want to make sure that we get to hear the full Anne Maroney story, because it really pulls on those strings, and I hope everyone's ready, because it's big. So let's get back to your story now. So bring me back to that time where so March 2020 hits,
Yeah.
and then what else? What proceeds?
So,
What comes?
as I stated earlier, I am a COVID survivor. And I understand that there are a lot of people out there who have been through COVID and have survived as well. My story is just a little bit different. I contracted COVID in December of 2020, so a year ago, I had COVID. Unfortunately, I had COVID where COVID almost took my life. In December 2020, I was hospitalized. I was put in COVID ICU for the month of December. I was intubated for 26 days.
Hold on, can I interrupt you? So I think there was more to that. So tell me, like, what came on, and what made you realize that it was COVID? What were all the, like, tell me the story of leading up
Sure,
to
from the
going into the
beginning,
hospital.
sure.
Yeah.
So, I am a person who gets chronic ear infections. I get them all the time. So, right after Thanksgiving, I noticed that I started having some ear pain, and I'm like, crap, I gotta go to the doctor. It's my ears, blah, blah, blah. I made the appointment to go to the doctor. They checked my ears. Yep, you have an ear infection. You know, here's some medication. Oh, by the way, let's take a COVID test just in case. Yep, you have an ear infection. Here's the COVID test. There were no rapid tests at that time, so you had to wait a couple days to get your testing back. So, went and got my antibiotic. My ears were killing me. Went home, fine. A couple days later, I get a call from the doctor's office saying, nope, you've tested negative. You have an ear infection. But at the time, I noticed that the pain in my ears were much, much worse than they normally were. So I thought, okay, maybe it's allergies and an ear infection. So that weekend, I spiked a fever of 103, and I was taking ibuprofen and Tylenol, the antibiotic at the same time. And my head was just screaming. My ears were screaming. My head was screaming. And I'm like, this can't be right. There has to be more. So, called the doctor's office, let them know what my symptoms were. And the nurse, checked my test, and they said that it was a false negative. So I had COVID. From there, they're like, look, drop what you're doing. We're going to call the hospital. You need to go to the hospital now. So at that time, it was last year, so your family members couldn't go into the hospital with you.
Right.
You couldn't have anybody there. So my husband and my daughter dropped me off at the ER outside and waited to find out, what was going on. Because at that time, we weren't exactly sure. Were they going to give me medication? Were they going to keep me for observation? So I went into the ER. The nurse greeted me, put me in a wheelchair, took me back into the ER. They took my information, and that's the last thing I remember.
That's the last thing you remember.
Mm-hmm. And then a month later, I woke up.
A month later? So you were brought into the hospital because you had the false negative,
Yeah.
which then realized you had it.
Yep.
Your family got you to the hospital right away.
Yep.
Put you on the wheelchair, took you in, took your information, and then it was all downhill from there, and that's all you remember.
That's all I remember. No, the only other things I know is from what my family has told me.
So what did they tell you?
So when I went in, the nurse, of course, called my husband from the outside saying that, she had a bad case of COVID. We need to keep her. We need to run tests on her, blah, blah, blah. There was only 2 days from the time that I went in to the time that I was intubated. So I went in, they did the best that they could do with what they had, because this is before a lot of the testing they have now, and before getting the vaccine, of course. So they ran a bunch of tests. I got sick very, very quickly. And then by, I believe it was December 2nd or 3rd, I was on a ventilator.
Wow.
So yeah, I was there maybe 2 days before they put me on the ventilator.
Wow. And then what? And then what came from there? What else happened?
So went on a ventilator, and again, a lot of this is from things that were told to me by my husband, my wonderful, courageous. I can't say enough about my husband. Hi, Tony. The doctors, I was at Chester County Hospital. The doctors were awesome in keeping communication with my husband, calling him a couple times a day to let him know what was going on with me, because again, he wasn't allowed to come in at all. They put me through the gamut of medication, steroids. They did the proning. If you've ever heard of people having glass in their lungs, that's the type of pneumonia that I had. That was the reason for the proning. The proning is when they flip you back and forth.
I was just about to ask,
Yeah.
like, what does that involve?
So they, again, they're trying to move the fluids in your body, move the infection that's in your lungs. So the proning is they flip you on your belly for several hours. They move you back to your back for several hours. All of that to try to get things to move and to get the medication
And
to
all while you're in a coma.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
On a ventilator.
On a ventilator.
In the hospital without your family.
Right. Right.
Oh my gosh.
So about 14, 16 days into my ventilation, they tried to remove the ventilation. Long story short, I ended up having a bronchial spasm, esophageal spasm, and I stopped breathing. So they ended up having to force me to go back on the ventilator because I wasn't breathing on my own. So hence the voice that I have right now, because during that process, my vocal cords were damaged. So I'm still dealing with the recovery portion of being ventilated. So I basically have a little divot, a little chip, kind of a space out of my vocal cord. So it's causing too much air to come up through my esophagus. So it makes my voice very breathy. So they put me back on the ventilator, and then there were some days that they called from what my husband tells me, about 3 or 4 days where the doctor called at night and basically said they weren't sure if I was going to wake up. So every night it was just, make your final arrangements, call your families. We're not sure if she's going to wake up.
Oh, that must have been so hard for Tony and Sarah and your aunt to hear. Yeah. Probably more than once. Yeah. To hear it. And at that point, what do you even think as a spouse, as a
like I said,
daughter?
He had to carry a very large load at that point. One that our relationship had not ever seen before. So thankfully, my husband is a nurse by trade, and so he understood a lot that was going on medically with me. And sometimes you guys in the nursing field know that sometimes when you know too much, that also can be kind of icky if you know too much rather than not knowing enough.
Yeah.
So
the lingo that the doctor will say to make you start to feel better, but they're really just like sugarcoating it,
right?
Like that kind of
right,
thing. Oh
exactly.
yeah, okay. So you could read into it when you heard it. Oh my gosh.
So there were a lot of decisions that needed to be made over the phone, because he couldn't be with me.
Right.
So that was very, very stressful on everybody.
Oh my goodness.
So for that entire time, so the beginning of December to December 23rd. December 23rd is when I woke up.
Wow. So that's like a 21 day coma.
Well, yes. The whole process took almost a month.
Oh my gosh, Ann.
So 2 days before Christmas, they extubated, so everything came out. I was breathing fine on my own. and I was alert and, looking around at everybody. What happened to me personally was, okay, so you go into the hospital thinking, okay, you have COVID, and in my head I was in a lot of pain and my ears hurt. And then the next thing you remember is you're waking up in a hospital bed with all kinds of machinery around you. You're kind of tied down to the bed. There's hoses all over the place. There's people in white suits walking all around. And at that point, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand why I was there.
Yeah.
So the nursing staff had to explain to me what was going on, and I didn't understand. Again, the process of being in a coma, and I did not understand why I was there. So I immediately started to cry and was asking a whole tons of questions, and of course where my husband is and my family, and so soon after, they did allow my husband to come in to see me for a brief time because I had just woken up.
This is right around the Christmas time, you said?
Yes,
Okay.
2 days before Christmas.
2 days before Christmas.
So, which was a sidebar, not a funny story now, but all of the staff that were working with me and, helping me through this whole ordeal, it was kind of like a revolving door in my hospital room because people came in like they were like deer in the headlights because they could not believe that I was sitting up, breathing, eyes open, and having a conversation with people. So the doctors were coming in and the nurses were coming in and they were just dumbfounded that I was sitting there talking to them. So, I was asking them a lot of questions and because if you think about it in my perspective, I went to sleep and then I woke up and all this crap happened in the middle and I had no clue. I was asleep. Mm-hmm. So, they were trying to explain to me, without trying to scare me, a lot of the things that had been happening over the last month. And I just could not believe that I was out of commission for a whole month.
Wow.
A whole month happened.
Oh.
So the nursing staff called me their Christmas miracle.
Oh.
The week that I went in, there were 6 patients that went in the same time I did, and I was the only one that came out.
You're the only one. 6 patients came in.
6 patients came in.
At the same time you did.
And 5 of them passed away.
Oh my. Talk about a Christmas miracle.
Yeah.
And oh my.
Yep, so the 23rd is going to be a very important date for me and my family from now on. So.
Oh my goodness.
So that was the easy part. Waking up was the easy part. Because what happened then was everybody was excited that I woke up, and I was excited that, I was able to sit up and breathe on my own. But I had been in a hospital bed for a month, so I muscle wasted about 30 pounds.
Wow.
So when you're in a coma, you don't eat, you don't do, so I had a feeding tube, and, they were giving me nutrition, but of course, I lost a lot of weight because of being in a bed in one place at one time. So immediately they started working with me, trying to get me to sit up, try to sit at the edge of the bed. But unfortunately, because of the amount of time that I was intubated and laying, that was very difficult for me. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't move myself from a chair to the bed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't hold a pen to sign my name.
Wow.
In the beginning, it was hard for me to talk, so I was trying to write things down so that my family and the staff could understand me, and I really had a tough time even just holding a pen.
Wow.
So, and that's all because of, again, the muscle wasting and being deconditioned for so long.
Yeah. So then what was oh my gosh, it's an incredible story, but I know that this is just the beginning of the story. Like this is just one of the first chapters.
Yeah, this is the
right. That's
first
chapter 1.
Yeah.
So chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Walk me through chapter 2 of what happened then.
So I spent Christmas in the hospital. That's something I've never done before. I spent Christmas in the hospital.
It makes you appreciate all the people who work at the hospital, though.
Yeah.
Not that you already didn't have an appreciation for Tony being a nurse,
no,
but everyone at the hospital. And I mean,
Yeah, I was going to get into that, but yeah, sidebar. Please love on all of your healthcare workers, all of the people that are dealing with all of this COVID challenges right now. They need all of the help and support from their families as they can. But so once they got me stable enough, then I went to inpatient rehab for a little while. So I was discharged from the hospital, went to inpatient rehab. And again, this is in January, so the COVID crisis is heightening at this point. They were really particular about who was going into like inpatient rehab and how long they were staying because of the virus being so rampant. I did not stay in inpatient long. I found that the better fit for me was to go home and do my rehab at home. So I was there for a short period and then came home and did OT and PT at home for about 3 months.
you did it at home for 3 months. And did you have anyone with you? Did you have anyone guiding you through the OT and the PT?
Yes.
Did you have anyone?
Yeah, I had plenty of people through Chester County Hospital that I had OT, I had PT, I had a nurse, I had speech at one point. So
Who were these people?
They were outpatient rehab.
Do they have names?
Oh,
Give them a little thank you here. Let's give them a little thank you for getting you through all of that.
yes, there was a Chris. I don't remember their last names, but a Chris and Jennifer and Lynn. So hi everybody.
Hi everybody. Thank you for helping Ann.
And then, so once I got home, which was the mid part of January, yay.
That was great, by the way, because I know you had mentioned short-term memory loss is a really big part of your journey.
Yes.
And remembering names is a tough one for everyone, but especially, I guess, I can imagine with the short-term memory loss suffering. So nice job, but continue.
I don't have my phone here, pages.
Yeah, everyone's names, you got them all.
So I get home, and then the next challenge is being home because now you don't have the staff around you to help you. So at that point, I was walking on a walker. I was continuing the process of eating again, because you have to go through the whole process of going through thin liquids and then purees, and so I was eating normal food at that point, but I was still on a particular diet just to make sure that my digestive system was working well. So a lot of the responsibility landed in my husband's lap and my daughter's lap, because at that point I still needed a little assistance getting up and down. I was still very cautious about going up and down steps because I didn't have a lot of strength in my legs to go up and down the steps. I was only walking short spans, like just doing laps around the interior of my house, basically, because I was deconditioned from laying around so long.
Man. Oh, but what I'm gathering from this story is that it shows who you are as a person, that you didn't just sit by and let it happen. You started taking action. You started doing the things that were going to allow you to get back to your family, to your work life, to life, and moving on to the next chapter. And what would you say was one of the biggest struggles in that, we'll call it chapter 2? What was one of the biggest struggles that you were dealing with? Because that's January all the way through until we met again in late November of 2021. Right.
So I have to say that my biggest challenge is asking for help.
Asking for help.
Yeah. I'm that person that I'm kind of the hub, the center of the wheel. So I kind of hold everything together. So I'm a very independent OCD, having things my way, in keeping order, in keeping structure, in making sure that everything, my work life, my home life, my kid, my aunt, everything revolves around making sure that everybody else gets what they need from me. So it was a huge a lesson that we all needed to learn, because not only did I need to learn how to ask for help, my family had to learn that, oh, mom used to do that, or my husband had to learn how to get online and pay the bills, and things like that. So it was it was a lot of learning that had to happen. Some of it stressful, but productive. But again, a give and take. But the biggest thing was for me to ask for help, and then to just say thank you. Because it may not have gotten done when you wanted it to get done. It may not have gotten done the way you would have done it, but it got done.
But it got done.
Just say thank you. I think that is a huge lesson of a person like myself who's very independent. It's a huge lesson to learn that other people can do what you do. You just need to allow them to do it.
Yeah, and communicate how to do it, and communicate what it is, but also communicate the gratitude, which is saying thank you. So I see what you're saying, because I'm very much alike in many ways. And thank goodness for my team and my team at home, as in like Lynn, and my team here. All of them, everyone has their own specific role, but it's all communication, and it's all gratitude for having done it. Because it's right, like I have a specific way of doing things, and we do our best to communicate those things, but sometimes it's not direct. And the gratitude of showing that it got done, that's what's important. So I can relate on that level. I can relate. But this, again, your journey is so special and unique, and you've gone through so much in that time of having to communicate and having to be grateful and having to understand that it doesn't get done the way or how you want to do it, but it still gets done. So now I don't want to jump right to when we got back together, but I want to know, like, what was it in your journey that made you decide that, that yes, I need to get back in here. I need to come back and talk to Matt. I need to come back and talk to B.O.B.
Sure. So this past year has been nothing but recovery. So it has been therapy. It has been trying to do everything in my power to get me back to where I was. And the journey now has taken me here a couple months ago, where I finally learned that I'm really not going back to where I was. So much has happened in my COVID journey, both emotionally, physically, with my voice, that this is going to be a new version of the old me, so kind of like the 2.0. And I'm learning now that we're at the end of the year, that I'm really not going to be that Anne that I was before COVID. And mentally, it's really hard to wrap your head around, because you're used to performing certain tasks a certain way. You're used to getting things done a certain way. You're used to leading your life in a manner that's comfortable to you. This year, I've learned that it takes time, and it takes patience that I do not have. My daughter knows. I just wanted to get it done so I can get back to where I was. And I've had to kind of take a step back, take a breath, and say, you know what? Unfortunately, I'm really not going to be going back to where I was, especially with my voice. Now that it's been a year, I've had 2 surgeries on my voice.
2 surgeries?
Yes. So
on your vocal cords? Okay.
So in hopes to try to have, not to fully recover, but just to have a less breathy voice, be able to have a little bit more girth, force in my voice. Right now, this is pretty much it. I can't yell. My husband likes that. Hi, Tony. I can't yell.
Tony's just shaking his head right now like, yeah, that's the only benefit. That's the only best part.
But I can't, right now I'm unable to sing, and I am a musician. I was a musician in school. I was a soprano in school.
Were you?
Yeah, so this is a big ass bummer that I can't sing either, and I may not get that ability back. So that's been a huge emotional stone that I'm still in the process of rolling.
Yeah.
So
And so that's another big part of it, right? So there are a couple of different things I want to come back to. So one, you said that you were trying to get back to your old self. And I think too often as adults, we do that and in every journey, right? So your journey is very unique. My journey is different, but unique to me. And everyone's journey, especially everyone who's been on this podcast, everyone has their own unique journey and unique stories. But I believe it's a huge mental leap to be able to identify, to have this moment to be able to say, you know what? I'm not going to be the person I was. I'm going to become a new person, a better 2.0, right? Like you said, a 2.0. I like to throw in the better version, a new, better version of myself. And you can. And sometimes with that comes with letting go of some of the other things, the old things that may or may not have made up who you were, or that whether you enjoy those things or not, like singing. I know that was a big part of your life and that you enjoyed that. And although it's going to be a hard one to let go of for now, it doesn't say to mean it's never going to come back, but for now it might not be the case. But there is something else that can replace singing that you can be just as passionate about, that can still be as fulfilling, that can still be as satisfying. And if you allow yourself and you give yourself the permission to find that, that's when you're going to find the true meaning of this new, better you.
And that kind of circles back to how I ended up here now, because I kind of got the green light from, my physician that, it's time for me. It's okay. You can start doing things now that I wasn't doing a few months ago. When you're recovering from COVID, or if you're a long hauler, that's what the technical term is I'm a long hauler. There are certain things like lifting things and putting too much stress on your body, especially putting too much stress on your lungs, running or going up and down the steps, picking up your laundry basket, going up and down the steps. These things put pressure on your body. You may not think about it now because you're a healthy person. These are normal everyday activities to most people. But once you become compromised, then these are some of the challenges that you need to make yourself aware of, kind of to make sure that you're always fine-tuning what you're going through. Now that I'm kind of moved past that, and now a year has passed, it's time to start challenging my body a little bit. So once I made the decision, okay, it's time. I need now the next part of my journey to start. I still have people who need me. I still have people that I take care of. I still have loved ones with me, and I need to give them my best version of myself. So that was the lead in to coming back here.
You know what I think we missed though, and this is so good, and I don't want to go back, but I think it's important to highlight. So, because I'm sure people who are watching or who are listening are thinking this. You had a family. You have a family.
Yes.
You have responsibilities, right? So the family can take up the responsibility you had in the household. Mm-hmm. But what about as a realtor for 13 years?
Oh my gosh.
What happened there?
So, again, next home Brandywine in Westchester, North Church Street in Westchester. I have a absolutely wonderful, wonderful support system at my brokerage. Dan Peasy, Lisa Lass, Diana Simmons. I had 3 deals on the table at the time that I went into a coma. These are three families that were depending on me to get them their new house, and my wonderful work family basically showed up and just said, where's all Ann's stuff? They picked up all of my stuff, took a hold of it and told Tony, don't worry about it. We've got this, we don't need anything from you. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to take care of it. And they did. I mean, there was nothing. And it's not like after I came home in January, I went back to work. I went back to work in full time in May.
Wow.
So from January to May, I was home doing the real work of recovery. Mm-hmm. And my coworkers at the brokerage were doing my work for me. in the beginning, and still, I'm having short-term memory loss. So I'm having sequencing issues. So in real estate, there's paperwork and computer things and things that you do for negotiations. And a lot of the steps I was missing or forgetting. And thankfully, again, I have great coworkers that if I missed something or I misstepped or whatever, they were right there with me doing the transaction with me so that we could get it to the table together. So yes, many, many, many kudos to my work family.
It just goes to show how amazing humanity is, right? There, you can see the light, you can see the dark, and unfortunately, a lot of people, especially with social media, tend to always go to the dark. And so this, and like the whole purpose of this podcast, and the whole thing of what we're doing is highlighting real stories with real people to show that fitness, the better fitness proof, right? This is better fitness proof of real people doing real things, living real lives that don't need to just be a transformation story. And your story is unique in itself, and your story is unique in that you have a community of people who support you, a community of work, family, home family, and now a gym family that support you in all the different things you do in all the different areas of your life, because you have to keep it all in check, right? You can work really hard and neglect family life. You can work really hard and keep family life going, but you can forget about yourself. So there are always these different areas that we all need to balance. So in 2018, you were trying to work on that work-life balance, work, life, and life, fitness life, yourself, personal life balance. And you let some things go. And then it came full circle, and the universe brought you back into the path of realizing that the priority is to be back on you. And you've had to, unfortunately, you had to go through some serious stuff to get to that point, to realize it, Anne. But it speaks volumes of your character. And now I know, and we know, how hard you can push and how much you can challenge yourself. So we have nothing but the highest bar set for you of where we're going to go.
Really lucky.
In such a good, positive way.
I was, the power of prayer is real, and I'm not sitting here being churchy or preachy or anything. I truly believe when you go through something like this, the power of prayer is real, and you truly find out who your family is. And I'm not saying just your small nucleus family. You find out who your community is. You find out who your squad is, who your village is, who takes care of you. And I had people coming out of the woodwork, taking care of my family while I could not. People calling, dropping off meals, dropping off gift cards, offering to do, housework and, take up a lot of the responsibilities. And until you go through a traumatic event like this, it really brings into focus what humanity is, what it should be. And I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful for all of those that were with us during that time.
Me too. Me too. So I'm going to do a little commercial.
Yes.
And in the meantime, I want you to think about what you would say to the old Anne, the one who I knew in 2018 in January when we talked about the balance. Because you think about what you'd say to her, and it needs to be something that is, you only have one chance to speak to her right now, okay?
And I can't swear, right?
No swearing, no. Keep it G, because my kids will watch this. Keep it G.
Okay,
so I'm going to do a commercial, and you want to think about that, and we'll come back to that, okay?
Okay, sounds
So,
good.
hey, if you're hanging out with us on YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know what struggles you've been going through, or give us a little comment about Anne's story, about how you can relate. Did you have COVID? What have you gone through? What have you overcome yourself? And if you're listening to this on any podcasting platform, wherever it might be, leave us a rating, give us a 5-star review, because why not? We're here and we're telling amazing stories with amazing people, real stories, the Better Fitness Proof podcast. But while you're there, go ahead and click the subscribe button so you get notifications, and swing by BentOnBetter.com and go ahead and check out what we have to offer, because we can probably serve you wherever you are, whether you're local or whether you're not local. We can help you out with our virtual training as well. So we're here to help, we're here to serve, we're here to make your life just 1% better, and that's what we'll do here. So on that, I'm going to swing back over to Anne. And remember, I want you to say the most powerful thing you can say, because you only have one chance to say it, and it's got to be everything you've got to speak to Anne, or someone who maybe was like Anne back in 2018, going through what you were going through what you've been through. Maybe a blend of what you've overcome already. What you would say. Anne, take it away.
I think the biggest message that I can offer is you must take time for yourself in order for you to be the best version of yourself for other people. If you're in the position of being a caretaker, if you're in a position where you have to juggle multiple things different times of the day, if you have a type of position or a job that can be physically or mentally stressful, my biggest thing I would say to you is you have to make the time for you. And that was, unfortunately, back then, I had to make decisions that were going to be best for my family. And I wish I could be sitting here today saying, oh, I've been here for 3 years and look at me. However, things just did not work that way. And if I had to say something to my former self, it would be, don't put yourself on the back burner. The only way that you're going to be able to be successful is starting to put yourself in top of mind all the time.
That was awesome. That's so great. I couldn't have ended it any better myself. That was wonderful. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for hanging out with us on YouTube. Everywhere where you're listening, make sure you click the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up wherever you're listening and give us that 5-star review and rating on any podcast platform. But for now, I'm going to be signing off. We will see you again on the next one. Bye.